Hey guys, welcome to Night Owls. Night Owls is a show we do whenever. We don't have a set time. Uh, Sasha called me today. She and said that got out of work early today because there's a snowstorm in Arkansas, and whenever we get any amount of snow here, everything just shuts down. So Sasha got out of work early, and she said, "Hey, let's do some Night Owls," and I'm like, "Yeah, that sounds a lot of fun." So thank you guys for being here. We are streaming both on YouTube, Rumble, and on X. And I appreciate all the platforms. Let me make sure all the platforms are up there. So if you could like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And if you want to get involved with the show, we have super chats on YouTube. Rumble has rants. Power chats are right here. And Stream Elements has a feature where you can do a tip feature. So I appreciate that. Night Owls is a show about whatever we want to talk about. We really don't have a lot of prep for it, but we just sit down and talk, and kind of it's a cozy show. And so if you have any questions, just let me know. And I'll post a call-in line. K-Max texted me, Sasha. He sent me a DM in X, and he thought he might want to call in. So I may post that here in a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Sasha's in the process of still moving here. Unfortunately, we had my car is like every month. So we get a new car. And Sasha, I did get a call back from the repair shop. Unfortunately, it's not a spark plug, so they're doing like an engine compression. It's one of the cylinders is not firing properly. So it's probably going to be expensive, whatever it is.
Oh, that they told you that?
They didn't say it was going to be expensive, but they said it wasn't the spark plug. The spark plug is fine. So I was just hoping it was that. And if you guys know, we were taking a whole load of stuff from Sasha's apartment to our house here. And the car was running fine. And then it stopped there at Sasha's, loaded it up and turned it on. And it was like, bop, bop, bop. You could tell it was misfiring. Engine light on, so I took it to the shop, and that's where it is now. And so we're kind of all Sasha dropped me off here at the home, so I'm kind of stranded now without a car, but that's okay. It's kind of cozy here. I just hope, Sasha, it doesn't snow too hard that we lose power tonight. That's always a possibility here in the country.
It's snowing pretty good in Fayetteville. Like, it was coming down when I left.
Yeah,
like it kind of slacked off for a little bit, and then it was bad. I kind of enjoy it though. I just don't really want to drive in it because they don't really clean up the roads.
Yeah.
And when I was leaving, all the roads, they were just covered, and I'm like, are they not shoveling or plowing any of the snow? Because it doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of snow in Arkansas, and like I said, this amount of snow, they would definitely not shut down things in Denver, but Denver's more used to snow, so.
Well, they don't clean things. They don't clean the roads here. That's the problem.
The good thing about Arkansas, there's only about 2 months of the year where we really get snow, January and February. Sometimes we get some in December.
Or March.
But it's pretty rare. Since I've been here, we've never had it in March, so. We've had it in November. One of my hobbies, I track the weather and put it in a spreadsheet every day. But so that's kind of the situation right now. And so Sasha, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about. I kind of made a list, and we can just kind of think what we want to do.
Okay.
There's the well, one of the things Sasha and I did, we were talking about the top movies of 2024. I don't want to put you on the spot, but that's one topic we could do. There's the fires in California. Did you see? Let me just show you guys this. This is pretty horrific. There was rumors of this happening, and some people say, "Oh, that's not happening," but it looks like we have confirmation that it is happening. And here it is. I'll share it for you guys here. You can see it too, Sasha.
Ryan, this is a huge and very frustrating development.
Yeah, I mean, totally unexpected, Dan. Was not expecting to get that piece of information in the last couple of minutes. We were sort of wondering why there are so many police out here. Obviously, this is a fire scene, and we've been at fire scenes for the last couple of days, and it didn't really make a lot of sense that more and more LAPD were showing up, and then the crime scene unit also being out here. So we spoke to the lead officer in charge, who you saw there, and he was very open about it. He said that they believe the Kenneth fire, which is the latest fire to start here in LA, now at 900 acres, give or take, they believe that someone did intentionally set it, that this is now officially an arson investigation. He said this whole area behind me, the canyon behind me, they're calling now a crime scene, and that they have a person in custody, detained, who they are questioning. Apparently someone in the area may have seen something. Now someone is in custody. But when you think about what has gone on in LA over the last 3 days, and granted, keep in mind, this is just the latest fire. This doesn't mean the other fires that we've been covering were intentionally shot. We don't we don't know. But LAPD saying they believe this latest fire was arson, Dan.
Yeah, so that's pretty disgusting.
They should get death penalty.
I do too. It used to be in Japan. I was reading the book Shogun years ago, and that was the worst crime you could commit in Japan was arson, because everything is made of like paper, flimsy. Arson was devastating, and
fires are horrifying. They really are scary.
It is, and they would torture you to death if you were an arsonist in Japan. It was horrible. And you do get a lot of these people that just, I don't know, they want to get attention or copycat, and LA's does not have really good human capital.
Well, I heard there's a lot of homeless people that start fires, because I had heard that before this came out, that it was probably like homeless, because they said that they're good at starting fires, and that people they're not cleaning their brush up. I mean, there's so many problems with this. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think there's just a whole, we got a super chat. My car runs fine on 3 or 4 cylinders. Yeah, I need the 4-cylinder. It was running pretty rough. I did my Substack. And if you guys aren't part of Substack, head over to Substack. I used to be on Gumroad. I'm still on Gumroad, but by the end of February, I will be off and staying with Group App. And I'm going to Substack, and I've said this before. The reason is Substack is a more mature platform, and I had technical problems with Gumroad. Sasha, you ran into it, right? Sometimes you want to get emails, and I would send emails to like a link to a roundtable or a private video, and like a roundtable, people want to get it to like a day later or something for an email. So it was just messed up, and I figured, well, just go back to Substack, because Substack is made for content creation. So, guys, just check me out on Substack. And I also do a lot of free essays every day. And I did it today about the LA situation. If you guys haven't read it, it's the left. They're trying to blame this on climate change, which is ridiculous.
How can this be climate change? That's so stupid.
It's just a catch-all they do to blame everything. So if a bunch of, let's say, third world people flood your nation, they blame that on climate change. Everything they blame on climate change. And it's the biggest piece of shit in the world. Now, I'm not saying that the world climate doesn't change. It has throughout history. I follow the weather, and some years are hot, some years are cold. And sometimes you have decades that are hot, like the 1930s were a hot decade in America. The 1970s were a very cool decade. That's why they had the Ice Age is returning. And it does change, over millions of years. There's no doubt about that. And even within thousands of years, I think because of solar activity. But I'm very skeptical humans have anything to do with the change in the climate. But
they had a guy.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, there was a guy Megyn Kelly was talking about, and I guess he was in the Obama administration. He was part of that Green Deal. Was it Solyndra or whatever it was? But he worked for, I want to say Greenpeace or one of those things. Even that guy came out and said this is not climate change.
Right.
And this guy's not like right wing or anything. And even he said that's bullshit. And so I don't know. I think it was incompetence. And so their politicians are trying to blame climate change because they utterly failed. Like they failed the
100%.
people. I mean, this is just a fuck up, because I've heard people try to say that now there's all these conspiracies. Like Brandon was telling me that it was a conspiracy to get rid of the Diddy files and all this stuff. But then we were talking tonight and he goes, no, I said, no, I think it's just incompetence. And he said, yeah. He goes, I do too. I don't know. Well, it's sad. I think it's sad. I know a lot of people like, they deserve it. I mean, there's people losing their homes and like, yeah, some of these people are shitty people, but I don't really wish that on anybody. And all those poor animals. And AIU's, if you guys don't know him, he makes videos, but his father built a house. I'm not sure when. He's older than I am, so probably in the 70s or sometime. It looked like a modest house for that area. It's gone. He had to GoFundMe to try to, help his dad rebuild. And then I saw Milo on there making fun of him, and it's like, that shit's not funny. Losing your house is horrible. My friend Brandon's house burned down during COVID. And he was talking about that. He said, even now, sometimes I'll think about something like, oh, I have this. And he's like, oh, never mind. It's part of the fire. And they couldn't get their cats out. And their cats both died in the fire. And I mean, it's just all these poor animals. I saw there's this lady that she's a vet. And she had her clinic open. The woman was there, I think she said, over 24 hours because all these animals were being brought in that people kept finding that were abandoned. And there was a deer, like just a poor little doe, just running through the streets. I mean, it's just, it's horrifying. And all these buildings, beautiful buildings, just all up in flames. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's funny, and I don't think people should be wishing that. I don't think it's cool. People said, they did that with North Carolina. I don't think that's cool. I just don't think this stuff is funny, and we should be better than that, especially if people say they're Christian. I don't see how you can be a Christian. And then I've seen people that are so-called Christians, well, like Milo, like saying horrible things about these people or making jokes about it. I just don't think it's funny. And I don't even care if the people are rich. It's destruction. These people had to flee. People's schools went up in flames. And yeah, they did. They voted. I guess it was 70% of the people voted Democrat.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, you voted for these shitty policies, but at the same time, I still feel bad seeing this shit. Like, any of this stuff is horrible. Like the stuff that happened in North Carolina, all that stuff, it breaks my heart seeing that stuff and imagining putting yourself in those people's shoes. Like, what if you had to go? James Woods, he was on Megyn Kelly's show today, and he was talking about how he had to leave, and he doesn't even know if his house burned down or not, but all the houses, I guess, in his neighborhood burned down. And she was asking him, like, well, what did you take when you left? Because she goes, that'd be the thing going through your mind. You can't even think straight. Like, oh my God, I only have a few things. My house is probably going to burn down. And he said the first thing he thought was his medicine, because I guess I didn't know he had thyroid cancer a few years ago, and he's on thyroid meds, kind of like me. And he said you can only live a couple weeks without your Synthroid. And so he grabbed that. And then he said he took, I guess because he did the voice of Hades from the Hercules cartoon in the 90s, and he said they give you some kind of statue. They only make 2. Disney keeps one, and then they give whoever the voice actor is. And so he took that. He took some of his other awards. But, I mean, you have to think like pictures, things you can't replace. And I don't know. I think it's sad. And people should come together and help each other, not play like, oh, I don't, fuck you, I don't care. I mean, I just think that's a shitty attitude to have. And we're all people at the end of the day. And I would hope if my place burned down, people wouldn't ask me who I voted for. I mean, that was disgusting when they did that with the people in North Carolina, like the Trump thing. But I think that was FEMA doing that. I'm not sure the people were. And he said he got like shit too, because I guess he started some kind of website, him and his wife, and it was about fires. It was a few years ago, and it was kind of to help people if because they have like wildfires in California. And it was if people needed advice or they needed kind of help. And I guess Alyssa Milano, she had a fire and she had horses and she couldn't get her horses. And so she contacted whatever that site was. And he said that even the New York Times had written about it. And he had told people, like, if anybody's over there, if you could please help her. And people were like, you're going to help her because she's a Democrat. And he said, I don't give a shit. She's a human. There's animals. You don't want these poor horses to die. And I don't know. I've been kind of disgusted seeing some of the shit that I've been seeing. And then like some bitch was celebrating James Woods' house burning down, and she had to delete the post because all these people went after her. It's like, that's fucking sick. Like, that's sick shit. Like, when 9/11 happened, people didn't do this shit. Everyone was kind of like, everyone felt bad. I felt bad. I mean, I don't know, seeing all these houses and all this, it's really, I mean, not everybody is your enemy that lives there. And I've seen so many people say they want you dead. They don't, all these people are not the same. These people don't know you. My friend has family that lives there. There's so many people. We have a guy that watches your show that lives there, and he's not like some shit living. I hope he's okay. I don't know. Is the fire still going, or did they finally get it put out? Like, me and Brandon were talking about that, and I didn't know if they contained it or not.
Yeah, the guy that's on our roundtable, he goes by Dan in LA, and he's a great guy, but he lives on a different part of LA. This part is at LA with the Palisade is where a lot of the rich people live, kind of near the Pacific Ocean. So I don't, although parts of this have spread, and now looks like we have some arson. And I get what you're saying. There is a sort of mean-spiritedness about everything. Uh, but there's also the point, I use the analogy, if you warn people not to do something, let's say, don't walk through this field barefoot because there's rattlesnakes, but they say, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. And then they walk through the field and they get bit. I don't celebrate that, but they kind of bring that little bit on themselves. Now, it's a little different, I know, in the city because not everyone voted for these woke policies. But if you live in an area that pretty much does these woke shit, then you have problems. And it was funny. Mel Gibson, I don't know if you saw that, Sasha. I don't think you did. You're at work, but Joe Rogan interviewed him just today, and that's the latest Joe Rogan thing. I didn't see it at all, but Mel Gibson was talking about how the policies like Gavin Newsom, they first destroyed San Francisco and now LA. And not just with, we'll get into this, or fire management policies, but even with, like criminals, like let's don't prosecute criminals because most of them that are arrested are black. We don't want black bodies in jail, so we're not going to send people in jail that do these crimes. Well, what do you get then? You get out of control crime and everything's horrible. And so there's a lot of these policies that they vote for because they think they're being very virtuous. And getting back to the fire thing, there was basically three things I would say that help contribute to this. First of all, it's not climate change. And I'm, as I told Sasha, I'm getting, so I really love the AI grok on X. If you guys haven't checked it out, check it out, because you could just ask it shit. And it, I asked it that what was the average temperature in LA in like 1935 compared to 2025 or 2024. And there wasn't any significant change in the temperature whatsoever. So climate change, they act like now because it gets a little hotter, things are just spontaneously erupting in flames. It's ridiculous. It's not happening.
Right.
And there's always been, I remember as a kid, there was a show, I don't think you watched the Sasha, but as a kid, I liked to watch it. It was, and people in the audience may have seen it that were older. It was called Emergency.
I've never seen it.
They had like paramedics, and then they had the fire department, and they usually ended up with some big fire. But it was based in LA. And they talked about, sometimes the firemen would go out because they'd have wildfires. As long as I've been alive, LA, that whole area has had wildfires. So that's not new. Fires are not new. What is new is how the government deals with it. Because previously, I'll just explain the differences. They had plenty of fresh water to deal with the situation. But Gavin Newsom, because of some little like snail darter type of creature, some Indians were supposedly objecting, they probably got paid off. They removed a dam and they just ran the fresh water into the Pacific Ocean. So they have a shortage of water now in Southern California because of government policies. And so the fire hydrants they lack water. That's one of the issues. The second issue is their whole forest management policy. Trump, by the way, I'm not just making this up. Trump talked about it. Joe Rogan's talked about it. But they had previously the forest management. If you keep a forest clean by taking out all the dead shit, trees fall down and die. And trees that are alive actually have a lot of moisture in them, but once they die, they become very flammable. And sometimes you need to clear that out. And it's true, sometimes forest fires are okay, they clean stuff out, but around homes in the city, you need to really aggressively manage that. And they decided for environmental reasons, supposedly not to do that, which is ironic because it destroys the whole forest now. And then the third reason is they had cuts in the fire department, and the people running the fire department, they have a shortage because they didn't want white men, because they want to change. They didn't want white men hired anymore. And all the leaders now in the LA fire department are these obese lesbians that look like they can't
They
even climb
are.
the stairs.
They are.
And it's just really kind of crazy how that has come about. And one of these things I saw, I didn't have this prep. Let me bring this up because I thought this was pretty. This is just sort of the whole DEI mindset. And here it is. Here we go. This is so they like a lot of America, they decided to discriminate against white women. I mean, white men, somewhat white women too, especially after George Floyd, have to punish white people. And so they didn't get the most qualified people. They get people that even shouldn't be firemen. And
you want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you.
So
Is that
she's
a
saying,
man or a woman?
I
I
don't
guess
know.
that's a woman. I don't know.
This is a woman lesbian.
Yikes.
And first of all, yeah, she's too fat. And I don't even know if you should have women in these positions
I
because
don't
they
think
can't
you
do the
should.
physical, they don't have the physical capability. And I don't know what race she is, some sort of mixed, I don't know what it is. It's very ugly. But let's take her.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you.
Well, if that's true, then we should have nationalism. So that means white people would not want black fire department or firemen or Mexican firemen, right? She's saying you need people to look like her. So she's, I guess, trying to say, if white people said this would be considered incredibly racist and offensive. But she can say this just matter of a fact. So when they say this, what they mean is blacks don't want, or whatever she is, don't want to see white people, but we got to expect to see them.
It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better.
What does that even mean? If there's a fire, I mean, I want someone to put out the fire and rescue me, right? I don't want some race jargon going on.
Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
What a stupid bitch.
So her
She should
answer,
be fired
let's
just
watch
for
this
saying
again
that.
because people are asked, this is they used to have physical tests that you able to pick up a grown person, man or woman, and carry them out of the house. Because sometimes if there's a lot of smoke, because usually in fires, at least house fires, you guys may know this, usually you don't die by burning up, you die from the smoke.
Right.
And a lot of people, what happened, the smoke inhalation, you pass out. And so you can't, they can't walk out. You got to carry them out. And so the question is, well, no, we need men that can be able to do this function. And her answer to this, is she strong enough to do this? And listen to her response.
She's strong enough to do this, or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
What? Isn't that, you know how ridiculous that is? Yeah, I know. That'd be like you call the police. Oh, well, you shouldn't have got yourself robbed. That's not my job to be here, The arrogance of that is just
Well, what if
incredible.
you're disabled or something? Like I had an aunt that didn't have legs.
Yeah,
Like she's not going to be. She wouldn't be able to get out if there was a fire. Someone would have to pick her up, and I, like me and Brandon, sometimes would have to take her to the doctor. And it would take two of us to lift her, and so that woman couldn't. So I guess it's her fault that she's in a wheelchair. Like
yeah,
what
she
the hell?
doesn't give a shit. It's just
No,
like,
it's all about like, ooh, I'm gay. Like that woman that was like on her bio.
mhm.
That police chief, it's like, bitch, you should be worrying about saving people. Nobody cares who you sleep with. Nobody freaking cares. Just be able to do your job.
Yeah, but they think it is just incredible. She
It's
should be fired
disgusting. There's so much
and lose her.
incompetence in our country anymore. It seems like half the stuff that you hear about is just them screwing stuff up. Like, you remember that train derailment in Palestine,
Yeah,
Ohio? I'd kind of
yeah,
forgot about that, and somebody brought that up. Wasn't that because of incompetence? Because we never
yes.
heard anything more about it. I mean, how many of those people lost their homes, and it's so polluted there, can't drink the water anymore. And I don't know. We need
Yeah,
to go back to, you should get the job based on your qualifications, not who you sleep with, not what color you are. And if more white people do this stuff, then fine. That's how it should be. I mean, that's how it was for decades. And that's not good enough. No, we need all this diversity. No, we don't.
yeah, it's well, and if she really believes she doesn't want to see people that don't look like her, then we should have separate countries. I'm
Right.
down with that. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Go somewhere else,
I
bitch.
really don't want to see her, so
Yeah,
I'm
she's
fine with that.
hideous. And what if
So
she was in a fire? That woman is so damn fat, it'd take an army of people to get her out of the
I
house.
know.
How big that woman is. She's huge. She's like
Yeah,
a truck.
it is crazy. So those are the three basic ones. Then the fourth one I just heard the other day is a lot of the fire hydrants are broken because diversity has stolen them or for the metal, and because there's no penalty anymore in LA because I don't want to put black bodies in prison. So it's just a total dysfunction. And it was interesting what Mel Gibson said because he was talking to Joe Rogan, and he was saying how quickly civilization can break down. We always thought it's something that's just there no matter what, but it can break down pretty quick if you have these situations where you don't have competent people and you have bad people. And
Well,
so
it
we
seems
have
like
this,
that's everywhere now.
yeah, we have this perfect storm here. So we have these environmental wackos that have the religion of Gaia. And then you have, oh, we got to allow people of color run free and do crimes if they want. And then we have people that, oh, they need to be put in positions because of racial or sexual perversion reasons, even if they can't do the job. So it's all coming together and it's just creating a huge problem. So, yeah, that is the issue.
Yeah, Adam Carolla was talking about it because he had to flee too.
Hmm.
And he was kind of talking about, like us too, that these people voted for this shit. And it's like, are people going to learn after this?
They won't, though.
But I
think
don't
they
know,
will.
because I've seen some people, though, that now are kind of coming out talking about how corrupt that they are. Like Justine Bateman's one of the people. I don't know if she was ever liberal, but she was in, Hollywood. And she's talked about how Gavin Newsom's ruined. And this was before the fires even. So there's a few people that have kind of come out. And that Anna Kasparian was talking about it. I was
Right.
kind of shocked to see that, like blaming the Democrats. She said that you can only blame them. And
Yeah,
how they've
California.
messed stuff up. So I don't know. Maybe this will be a wake-up call if the media doesn't gaslight all these people. That's part of the problem with all this too, is people are just so uninformed about everything, and the media is only one way. And so I think that that's a big part of like why all these people vote Democrat, because it's like there are people that vote that way. They're not bad people. They're just like uninformed. Because I know people like this. They don't hate white people. They've been voting this way forever, and they don't pay attention to politics, and they think they're the good guy. And it's like, in reality, you're not the good guy. But they've been so brainwashed, and the brainwashing goes deep. And you see that even people on our so-called side. How many people think like us used to be shit libs? There's quite a few, like where people come out and, oh, I was leftist before, and they're not anymore. So, I mean, it's just years of brainwashing and indoctrination. And I don't know. I hope some of these people wake up. Adam Carolla was saying that where, I think, is it the Pacific, or maybe it's Malibu? He said you have to have so many permits to rebuild, because he said there was a fire there before this fire happened. I can't remember when he said it was, but he said that part of the problem too, you'll have to have like so many permits, and these people are slow at getting the permits. And he said Suzanne Summers and her husband had a house fire back, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, and they couldn't rebuild because they kept having to deal with all this red tape, that they finally just moved somewhere else. And so he said that might wake some people up too, when you can't rebuild because you have to go through all this government regulation and bullshit to even rebuild your house.
Yeah, Mel Gibson, again, he was just talking to Joe Rogan. He said that he's may leave California and move elsewhere.
So was he affected by the fire?
I think he had an old house or something. Yeah, he may have been. He doesn't know if his house is destroyed.
Kind of like
And
Corolla was like
yeah,
that too.
I mean, And I get it in some ways. I mean, I have more sympathy for the people in North Carolina because they're poor. These people are
Right.
extreme.
And
I mean,
they
Mel
don't get,
Gibson is not going to be laying on the street.
no.
Yeah. So,
Well, and the thing too is with celebrities, more, they have more of a voice where those poor people in North Carolina didn't. But
right.
there are people in the California, not everyone there is rich. Like Megyn Kelly was talking about that. Like some of these people bought their homes years ago. There was like
Right.
this old couple and this apartment complex burned down. And a lot of those people I don't think were rich or they wouldn't be living in some shitty apartment complex. So it's not just like rich people too. There are poor or middle class people that lost their homes and they'll probably never get the home back if they don't have insurance, because James Woods said everyone in his neighborhood lost their insurance. And that seems to be what everyone on X is saying too, that they lost their insurance because California, because of the way the regulations were and everything, and they knew that this was like going to happen. And so they bailed out of there. And so a lot of people, like the celebrities, they can rebuild, they have money. Like I feel bad for James Woods and all those people too, but like you said, they've got money, they can rebuild. It's the people like that old couple that probably aren't going to be able to rebuild, people like that. If you don't have insurance and you don't have any savings, you're kind of screwed. Because I mean, is the government going to pay for these people? No. I mean, what do they do for the people in North Carolina? They get like $750. That's not anything. You can barely go on it. You can't even go on a vacation for like $750.
Yeah,
Really?
I don't blame the insurance companies, and I'm not a big fan of insurance companies by any means, but they have to make money. And if you're going to have a situation of a woke politics, so you're going to do basic competency to protect your neighborhoods, how can they insure it? I mean,
Right. Well, they said they would have gone bankrupt. That's what I heard. That if,
oh, of course, yeah,
because this would have, of course, bankrupted them with all these. They couldn't pay for this shit. I mean, those houses are worth millions of dollars.
right. And I'm saying wildfires have been in Southern California forever. And the insurance has always been in there, so it's not been an issue. The reason is we had more competent white people that were running things, right? Honestly. And you get rid of white people and you get rid of competence, you get third world standards. And that's what we're seeing now.
Well, it's all these women running things. I'm sorry, they don't know what the hell they're doing. Like that mayor, she's freaking terrible. And they had some guy, like some white, I think he was white. They had a guy, they said, that ran against her, and he was kind of like an independent, but he lost. And this bitch is in Ghana, and it's like, why are you in Ghana? And who's paying for that? I'm sure the LA taxpayers are. They said there was a train, like they were trying to do like a high-speed train. And the train, you'd think like, oh, if they're going to do a train, it's going to go to San Francisco or San Diego or even, like
Vegas,
Las Vegas. But it's not. It's going to some place I'd never even heard of. And Adam Carolla was like, nobody's heard of this place. And they've already spent, I don't remember how many $1 billion he said on this stuff. And it's just a boondoggle waste of money. And it seems like these politicians have just pissed all the money away. If I was a rich person or any person, if I had money, I'd get the hell out of there. But I get it. It's beautiful. I liked it when we went. And I could see why you would want to live there. The weather's nice. The beach, you're close to Vegas. I mean, not super close, but you're close enough you could go there on the weekends. It's nice area. But at the same time, it's like these people are just pissing people's money away. They have some of the highest taxes, it sounds like, and then they're just pissing it away and you can't get anything done.
Yeah, take a look at this, Sasha. This is just the Daily Caller broke this out. The city of Los Angeles cut funding for its fire department and allocated thousands of dollars to various progressive programs, including Midnight Stroll, Transgender Cafe, and a gay men's chorus. And whatever you think about this whole push of homosexuality, why is government funds funding a homosexual choir in some trans cafe? And
They shouldn't.
this is the ridiculous stuff. And they gave a lot of their equipment to Ukraine.
I saw that.
So this has consequences. When you do things in life that has consequences, and we're seeing the consequences, there's a point, and I've always saw this either in a school or a business, that you can have a little bit of diversity and manage it. It's kind of like a diversity tax, but you still get the job done. But there comes a point when they get too many of the people that can't do the job, that you don't have enough competent people to run the organization or the school, or in this case, the government. And we're seeing that. And so we got a lot of third world people in LA, they vote for a third world mayor and they get third world conditions. That's what happens. You know, it's one of the tragedies of the West is these people, they can in their own homelands create a level of civilization. It depends, you know, where they're from. Africa is lower than, let's say, Central America, but they still have a civilization below ours, and they see what we have, our wealth, and they think we get it, we got that by stealing it or something. And if they come here, they want to be around white people and have all the civilization that's created by that. But the tragedy is when they get too much in numbers, they destroy what they came to get, and it doesn't exist anymore. So what's the point of trying to flee to, let's say, California out of Haiti if you turn California into Haiti, right? You haven't gained anything. Canada's getting the same issue. So did you know 40% of Canadians are foreign born? It's just outrageous. 40% weren't even born in Canada.
These politicians really need to be held accountable.
They are Justin Trudeau 100% engaged in ethnic cleansing of the Canadian people, and he pretty much did that based on groups like Soros and the ADL and the groups that hate our people. There's no other way to call it than ethnic cleansing or even a form of genocide they were attempting.
It is.
It's just really sad what's happened. And but that's the great tragedy that happens is it's, you know, you get these conditions. So, okay, you know, you had California when I was a kid, say in the 1970s, California was the golden state. That was the state of opportunity and middle class and nice sun and the Beach Boys and surfers, blonde hair girls, everything, you know, the whole thing. And then they turned it into the third world because of immigration policies and the Democrats, and white people fled. And now you don't have competent white people running LA. You have these people that are heading off to Guyana or wherever they're going. Where did she go again? You said
Ghana, I think.
Ghana. And then you have these lesbian fire chiefs that are too fat to climb stairs. And this is a result you get. This is a result. People matter. People aren't interchangeable.
Well, didn't this kind of remind you of the whole Secret Service thing too? Like
I did. I thought you read my mind. I remember seeing
the same thing.
That's why that fat woman. Yeah, that was panicking.
Sometimes I think these women get in these positions, they don't belong in them, and they're in over their head. Because you see this in real life a lot of times. I've had women bosses, and they panic and freak out, and then you have guy bosses tend to be more laid back and get the job done. And I don't know, like that stupid woman that got Trump, basically the bitch got Trump shot. I mean, you have that. Now you have that, like, with the mayor. Who the hell? I mean, God, I don't want to say like they should learn a lesson because they vote for this stuff, because I don't want anybody to die in a fire because it's horrible. At the same time, it's like, what are you people thinking? Like, please let this be a wake-up call. And it's just like, don't vote for these freaking people. Like, do something.
Yeah,
like, I don't get it.
As I told you, but I'll tell the people watching, I mentioned this to Sasha. It reminds me of the book by Ayn Rand called Atlas Shrugged. And her theme was basically this. Her theme was socialism or communism. How when you don't reward competence and you try to fake reality, eventually it ends up in disaster. And you say, oh, it's an act of God. No, it's because of your policies.
No, that could have all been prevented.
Yes.
I mean, they could have got the fire down. I mean, maybe there'd still be a fire, but it would not have spread like it did. I mean, that was insane. If you watch that, it looked like hell on earth.
Yeah.
Like, it was hard to look at to some degree. It was like a horror movie come to life. And I felt so bad for those people. And it's just like, all they had to do, Trump tried to tell them even, like you said, a few years ago, he talked about Finland, how they talk, but they're like a forest nation, I guess, he said. And that the way they take care of it, well, they weren't even taking care of it. They weren't cleaning their brush up. They weren't, I mean, aren't they supposed to kind of set fires to put out to keep it from, or what control fires?
Yes.
Isn't that something they do?
Control burns, yeah.
Because I think they do that in Arkansas, because we have woods and stuff here too, and you never hear about our shit catching on fire.
No, and we're, as I mentioned in the essay today, we actually are hotter than LA in the summer, especially where those rich people live is pretty cool by the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And so it's not the heat, and it's just poor management.
Well, Ron, I I think it was on Ron Paul's show or some show I was listening to. They said there used to be citrus trees that kind of were kind of a buffer with the fires too, because they absorb, because they're kind of wet, or I don't know how to say it, but they kind of help, but they don't have that. And they said they just build and build and build now, and they don't really have anything like that anymore, because that kind of kept things in check to some degree back in the day.
Yeah, and so this kind of, I think, represents kind of a civilization breakdown we're starting to see in America. And it's unfortunate, but it's, you replace the people, this is what you get. You get what they created in their homeland. So
Yeah, it's sad.
yeah, it definitely
I
is.
saw some beautiful buildings go up. Like this lady took a picture. I forgot what building it was, but there was this place, and I wish we'd have known about it when we were there. They had a bunny museum, and they had all this bunny stuff, and they said they were able to get the bunnies and the cats out, but they're going to have to rebuild somewhere else. And some of these places have been there for decades, and now they're just gone. And
Yeah.
it's just a shame to see it, because whether you like LA or not, there's a lot of history there. And I do like movies, and I like that type of thing. And the people are just, a lot of people are just stupid. Like, I'm convinced a lot of this isn't like them trying to just be hateful. They're just idiots. They vote for stupid things, and they don't pay attention to what the hell's going on. I mean, you have a lot of stupid people voting. Like, let's be real.
Well, it's a cargo cult mentality, and cargo cult, for people watching who don't know what that was in the World War II primitive savage tribes in Indonesia. They would see American planes and they would have cargo, and they wanted that. So they thought that if they put out cargo, that'd make the planes appear. They didn't understand the function of the planes and how they came about. And we see this a lot, not just in this case, but in a lot of America, that, oh, okay, so we have a lot of the fire chief primarily were white men. And, oh, that was, we could just put women in there or people of color, and we'll just change the test and we'll just put them in if they're qualified or not. Now they're powerful fire chiefs, just like the white men. And it's like, no, just because you're wearing the uniform or have the badge doesn't mean you're really doing that function properly. It's, you could dress me up. I could put a lab coat on and have a stethoscope around me, right? Would that make me a doctor? No. Yeah, I'm just putting on a costume. And like that obese black lesbian, she's wearing a costume. She's not really a fireman. She's playing pretend. But it causes lives. It costs lives. And when you do that, and we see that in a lot of places now where they do a lot of pretend, because and a lot of it, I think they get kind of fooled by their own bullshit. And what I mean by that, ironically, because this happened near Hollywood, is in the last at least 25 years, if not longer, at least since the year 2000, even beforehand, they were doing a little bit of it. But they had this whole mantra, whatever a man could do, a girl could do better, that type of thing.
Right.
And then they started to push that in the movies, like the guys are incompetent, and you have the girl boss showing them what's up. And
They're kicking everybody's ass.
yeah, and I think the human mind is interesting, because when you watch a TV program or movie, intellectually it's fake. But the reason, like at a horror movie, you react or you feel sad if a character dies that you get connected with, even though you intellectually know it's fake, part of your brain doesn't know, and it reacts. That's how you have the emotions when you see a movie. It's playing on that kind of more primitive part of your brain. And I think a lot of people are somewhat primitive. When they see stuff like this, it really, even though they, on a certain level, they know it's fake, but they start to think this is real because they see this all in the movies. You get who is the guy in, the black guy that's always, Morgan Freeman is him?
Yeah, Morgan Freeman.
The wise black guy, and the brilliant black rocket scientist, and white men are evil, and powerful girls,
Right.
And because of that, people it imprints them, and they start to think that's reality. It's not reality. It's just a fantasy. It's in fact an inverse of reality, but they start to push it. So we start to have like captains of warships that are female, and they run it into the ground, and you have fire chiefs that are incompetent, and police officers that can't do their job, or Secret Service agents that can't do their job. And I think a lot of this is they believe their own bullshit. So
Well,
I
they
think that's
do.
part of it. Yeah.
Because,
That's
I
part
mean,
of
in
it.
reality, if you think about it, like you said, that woman can't lift anybody. And
No.
then what about lifting somebody? Well, he shouldn't have got in the first place. It's like, bitch, that's your job.
That's your
You're
job.
supposed to lift those people. And I know, I'm female. I know I can't lift. There's no freaking way. I have like noodle arms. There's no way I could like lift somebody. So I wouldn't even want to do that. I wouldn't want to put people in harm's way.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why not have people operate on people that don't know what they're doing? I mean, they're like you said, they're killing people. People are dying. And I mean, look at all the damage. And I mean, it's like fucking chaos. And there's been so much of this, not just the fires, but like we're talking about that train in Palestine. There's so much of the stuff that they've done because of shitty policies and putting people in positions they don't need to be in. I don't know.
Her response is just amazing. Almost sounds like The Onion or the Babylon
It
Bee, but
does.
it's real.
Yeah.
It'd be like if you call the fire department, they're like, "No, we don't want. Why do you call us? We don't want to put out fires. It's not fun. We're just going to
It's
stay
not
here
our
at the
job or
station."
anything. That's not what
Yeah.
we get paid for.
I know. It's just like it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Yeah. But yeah, that's where we are. So
I don't know. It's scary and it's dangerous that this is. I mean, and then with planes too, it's frightening that if they put people like that flying your airplane, and I know you said AI can, or not AI, technology can do a lot of it. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit. I want somebody, if something goes down, I want somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. I don't want diversity. I don't want them working on my plane. If they don't know what they're doing, they shouldn't be there.
Well, someone brought, why couldn't they use the ocean water? And my understanding is because you dump a lot of salt water, it could get into your water table. I'm not an expert on that, but that's why they need to use fresh water in doing this. Otherwise, you can cause more damage.
Well, and they gave a lot of the, like you said earlier, a lot of the equipment they gave to freaking Ukraine. Why
Yeah.
are we doing that? God, our country pisses so much money away. I could never be in the government because I'd be slashing shit left and
Mhm.
right. It's kind of like when I worked at the university, and you wonder why college tuition so much. They piss so much money away on so much stupid shit. And me and my friend worked at their joke, like if we were in charge, we'd be cutting shit left and right. And you wouldn't even have to cut people's jobs, just the way that they waste money on stupid stuff. And it sounds like they were doing that in LA too. And just even these diversity trainings and things like that is a big waste of money. Having to pay for that crap. Get rid of that shit. Only have the stuff you need to do the job properly. That's what you need to do.
I agree. Yeah. I guess we'll switch gears if you have anything more about the fire?
Sure,
Or
yeah,
we'll
no,
switch
the
gears?
fire kind of last night I was going down a rabbit hole looking at all the poor animals and people crying, and it just got to be kind of like a lot. And I'm like, I want to go to bed tonight and I don't want to think about that fucking fire. When I pray for those people, and I hope it stops if it hasn't already stopped. But yeah, let's switch gears.
All right. Jimmy Carter was buried today, or he was
I
at
saw that.
the Capitol. And here's a lot of people are talking about this. Was kind of funny. There's Trump and Obama.
Why are
Obama's
they all
laughing.
buddy now? Boy, George Bush looks old now.
It was funny because Trump actually, someone asked him about that. Let me see if I have that here. I think and again, I don't really prepare the same way I do before. But someone asked him about this. So yeah, let's take a look at this here, and then I'll give you because I think this relates to other people. So these are people are supposed to be like total enemies, like, so people now, because of politics, they disown their family, they won't talk to friends. And here's the people that are supposed to hate each other. So here we go.
Off the top, you mentioned the Carter funeral today. What were you talking to Barack Obama about?
It did look very friendly, I must say. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it, how friendly it looked. I saw it on your wonderful network just a little while ago before I came in, and I said, boy, they look like two people that like each other, and we probably do. We have little different philosophies, right? But we probably do. I don't know, we just got along, but I got along with just about everybody on that. We met backstage, as you know, before we went on, and I thought it was a beautiful service, but we all got along very well, which is good.
And I just thought that was interesting, Sasha. So these are like the top leaders. and they just pal around and laugh and joke around. But in our sphere, not in our sphere, I mean in America, there's so many people now that are so divided on politics they won't even be friends with each other
Well,
because of different.
I'll tell a story real quick if
Please
I
do,
can.
yes, yes.
Okay, I have a friend that lives in Illinois, and I've known her longer than anybody. And we used to be, she was my best friend for years. And 2016 came around, and she wrote me this letter, because we write letters, and she said, you have to vote for Hillary Clinton, because she's a leftist, but she's still my friend. And I just said, no, I'm not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. And she's kind of passive aggressive about it. Well, that pretty much ended our friendship. Like, we didn't talk anymore. And then I ran into her, like, guess it was 2 years ago. We went to Illinois. We went to that toy show, and she was there. And she's like, Sasha, Sasha. And I turned around, I saw her, and we gave each other a hug. And it was like we never stopped seeing each other. And so we reconnected, and everything was great. And then I didn't hear from her for a while. We're talking pretty much every month. We talk on the phone. And I sent her a box for Christmas. And then I didn't hear from her for a while. And Brandon was like, he knows her too. And he goes, oh, she's probably pissed off because Trump. And I never told her I voted for Trump. I never talk about Trump with her. I try not to talk politics at all because I feel like we have other things in common. Because when we were younger, neither one of us were political. We never talked about politics. Now, we agree on some stuff. We both think our healthcare system's a joke because her mom died and she had a kidney failure, and it was real sad. And I loved her mom too. And so we agree on some things, and we both think marijuana should be legal and things like that. But man, when it comes to other stuff, we just really don't. And I'm not going to vote for these people, but like her parents are Democrats, and she's always been, I guess, a Democrat. But I just try not to bring this shit up. And then out of the blue, I get a letter. And I was excited to get the letter too, because I was just like, oh, I hadn't heard from her. And I figured I probably pissed her off somehow, because I seem like I'm always pissing people off. And I'm not trying. Like I said, I don't talk about this shit at all with her. And this like 3-page letter, she still wants to be my friend, but how upset she is that Trump won. And he's a bad guy. He's like Biff Tannen from Back to the Future. I don't know if I told you that. But a lot of stuff, he's a bully and he's mean. And it was just the same shit that I heard. Brandon's mom kind of went on this stuff with me because I was kind of helping look after her when he was on vacation. And she brought it up too. They all bring it up to me. I try not to talk about this stuff with people because a lot of times they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They hear what the news says, and you know how the news, it's all left wing. That's what I mean about people are ignorant about all this stuff. I used to be kind of ignorant about stuff too, but I just they don't pay enough attention. And it was just this like letter almost chastising me. It's like, I don't want to dictate to you and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I mean, she still wants to be friends, but as of now, she just wants to do letters. She doesn't want to talk to me till she gets her head straight because she's all messed up because of Trump. And something really bad's going to happen. And I was like thinking, he was president before. You're still alive. You're fine. I mean, some things change, but a lot of things don't really change. I mean, you see like more incompetence, like you said, but it's like, so I don't know. And then, like you said, then Obama and Trump pal around, but then I get somebody kind of upset with me because that's exactly what it was, like upset with me because of this, because Trump won, So
yeah, that is a change I've seen a lot over my years because, well, when I was in the corporate world, there was always kind of a rule, and I think it's a good one, is don't talk politics or religion because that's not your job there anyway. And so if you want to make small talk, sports, talk about the Denver Broncos or the weather, it's snowing or something like that. But politics and religion are always kind of a touchy topic, so don't talk about it because you're not there anyway. You're there to work. And I understood that. But now, like these businesses want you to talk about politics as long as it's left wing and race and being pro sodomy and everything else is just really crazy and is creating a lot of division. And a lot of people on the left, and I would say it's mostly on the left, they have become in a cult that this is like their religion. And it is funny because she's not wealthy or anything. So for most of the people, you have the elite and they're kind of laughing. They get together, they have their cocktail parties and they have fun together. And meanwhile, all the lower class people are all upset about stuff that, it's kind of irrelevant in the scheme of things. So the idea that you can't be, when I was younger, it's like, yeah, sometimes people have different political point of views, but if it's that, as a guy, I like debating it, and you want to have hurt feelings, you just do that wasn't something to get your feelings hurt about. But if you can't get over the political, if you're going to get your feelings hurt, just don't talk about it. But
Yeah.
these people now are so intolerant. They're like a cult. And one of the things with a cult, like a UFO cult or religious cult, one of the things they try to do is always isolate you, that you shouldn't hear from the non-believers because that could corrupt you. And they either put you in a compound, or you shouldn't interact with others alone because they may corrupt your mind. And that's how that wokeism is with these people. It's a cult. They don't believe in God, but it's a cult. And they think just being exposed to other ideas could damage them. And that's why they consider, like, if you talk about other ideas, oh, that's violence. They consider that violence, just hearing other points of views. And there's kind of a distinction. I saw this one guy said he called it between a liberal and a leftist. A liberal can learn, like say the fire example, they can look at the data and, wow, I was wrong about this, I'm changing. But some of those hardcore leftists, it's almost a genetic thing. There's, I think Ed Dutton called it a spiteful mutant. They're just biologically screwed up, and they have to. I don't know if they can change. So you got kind of the two different positions there. So
I don't know. It's depressing. Well, and I was at work one night, and this lady was up there, and she was just like, I don't really know her. She worked another part of the building, and she goes, "Were you upset about the election?" And I was like, "Not really." She goes, "Well, I'm kind of upset about it." And then she started talking to me about and I'm just like, "Oh God, I don't want to talk to you, lady, about this. I know more than you. Sorry." know, and that's kind of how I feel about my friend. I could write a fucking 10-page letter going off about all the things she said and how wrong she is, but that just makes things worse. And I have another friend that's like that, and I don't even talk to him anymore because he always shoves his shit in my face. And that's the thing. I try not to do that. I really do. Now, I have friends like Mosca and Brandon, and we all pretty much agree. Now, there's a few things we disagree, but they're not going to stop being my friend. Where these people, man, they just, and a lot of it is women too. Like the women seem to drop you, or that one big fat guy that I used to be friends with that wrote me that John Deere letter. And the thing was, I never even talked politics with that guy. Mosca said some stuff and that pissed him off. And I guess you and this other guy talked about Christopher Columbus and things he didn't like. So I can't be your friend. I knew this guy 26 years. I mean, these people just flush people down the toilet like you're nothing, like you're trash because you disagree with them. I don't know. It's kind of heartbreaking in a way because I don't like that. I want people to be friends, and like my other friend that's a leftist, like part of the reason I don't hang out with him is because he just wants to tell me and just get upset, and he's got Trump derangement. Trump really messed people up, but then I think about Bush too, and I don't like Bush either, but people really were upset when he was president too, so it's kind of like that again. It seems like anybody right-wing is in, they're going to hate him. Unless maybe it's a John McCain or something, but basically a like Republican and name only type, maybe they'd be okay. But even then, I don't think they would, because it's kind of like team sports with these people. They could cure cancer, bring world peace, they'd still bitch about it. And like kind of like my friend, like her life's kind of fucked up, and it's like, well, I mean, did any of these politicians make shit better? Because Obama was in 8 years. How did that work? Your life was just as fucked up. Maybe some of it's on you. It's not just the politicians. And maybe don't throw your friends away and write them long letters complaining because you didn't get your way, because that's kind of what it sounds like.
Hey, we have a caller, K-Max McDonald's. Welcome to the Ramsey Paul Show. I mean, not the Ramsey Paul Show, Night House.
Yeah, hey, Sasha. Hey, Rams. How you guys doing?
Good.
I didn't know if you were sticking more into politics or my question. I had kind of two different ones, but one was more political and one was more music and stuff.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah,
the music one.
Both. I mean, we are Night Owls. We're open format. We do whatever.
I'll say, talk radio. They used to say if you called in Monday through Thursday, you had to be topical to what they're talking about. But I think Friday was like open line Friday.
Yeah, open mic Friday. Yeah.
Well, the first thing I'll be quicker than with political was Elon Musk and bringing up these UK grooming gangs, and he had just disappointed everybody about the H-1B visas. Do you tend to feel it's always the case of you oppose him where he's wrong, you support him where he's right. So the two things are true. He's wrong in H-1B visas, but he's right to bring up the UK grooming gangs, and maybe it'll make a difference. But like, you do wish that he would just talk about both, maybe on our side, but you have to take what you can get, and that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's it's interesting because Elon Musk, let me just show you guys here, he's going to be investigated by the Brits. The Brits are just the government.
Wait, Elon Musk is being investigated?
Yeah, the British government has deployed counter-extremism. And see, what he's talking about, if you guys don't know, all these mostly Pakistani and Muslims came into Britain, and over decades they started these basically take white girls and rape them and use them as prostitutes. And the government didn't do anything about it because they didn't want to be seen as Islamic phobic. And in fact, if you were a white person and objected to this, you would go to jail for being Islamic phobic. And Elon Musk, he has, I think, a passion for kids, because what happened to one of his boys was it really screwed up because of the trans ideology. And
I just struggle with which government in the world's the worst. I think the UK is becoming the clear front.
And so now they consider him a counter-extremism based on his post on X, because he is opposed to how the British government covered up these honestly rape gangs. I don't know the term grooming. They actually force these girls to have sex, the children in many cases. And again, the government, the white government, they sided with the that were doing this over the normal English people. That is
Wasn't there a vote, and it was a huge majority voted against investigating it. Even I think.
Yeah, they won't even investigate it because they think it would have a bad outcome. So they literally think, and we used to joke about it, they literally think being so-called racist is worse than like molesting children or killing children. And that's no joke. They really think that's the case. And it's sad what's happened there.
Yeah, Robert Reich had some article in The Guardian. He calls it a far-right position to oppose. So what's a far-right position again, Rams? I don't want my daughters harmed by these gangs. I guess that's far right, but it's normal left to support that. A normal position. I mean, it's just, I guess you get discouraged when this. Yeah. I think what I was thinking is, I always think the left's going to kind of get a little more intelligent and not, but it seems like they're too in a religious cult. They can't stop themselves. They have to keep doing this. Call everything far right.
They do anything. They don't like is
powerful. I think
you never hear the term far left. I always call it far right. Anything they don't like, and it's always extremist, like our views. Like fuck them. I think it's extremist to bring in alien people and rape your children. In my opinion, that is fucking extremist. Yeah. But and I want to deport them. I'd execute them if they did that. So this idea of extremism, who decides? And I have a very different view than they do, and I think a lot of normal British people have the same view I do. So they are really under control, under occupied people that hate our people. And getting back to Elon Musk, I like with everyone, I support things that I agree with, and other things I disagree with him, like H-1B visas. Correct.
Yeah. What you just said will tie in my next topic, because it could relate to journalism, but I'll say it about music. So I'd this has been obvious knowledge to a lot of people, but to me, I was kind of surprised. I was having this conversation about a lot of pop stars don't write their own songs. They just perform them, and it's usually written by some guy in Sweden. And I had a lot less respect, saying, well, all the lyrics you're singing and you don't even come up with the song, and you get all the credit just because you perform it. And I relate to a journalist. Now, if Ramsey Paul's entire show was a script and Ramsey Paul just read the script, and then people said, what a genius. How do you get your idea for your shows, Ramsey Paul? Which is basically what I see journalism, is they just read a script from a teleprompter and then they get a journalism award for their genius. Do you tend to think that's too harsh, or do you think I would respect a singer who comes up with their own lyrics and the beat, versus it seems like, just someone else writes it all and then you perform it? It is a talent, but I thought it's not as much as if you came up with it yourself.
Yeah, Session and I've talked a little bit about this, and even in broader terms, people that actually can play instruments versus there's a lot of pop stars are there because of the look, not because necessarily they're talented. And there's been a long history. Sometimes, well, obviously bands do covers of other people's music, and there's been a long history of musicians where they will uh, play a song that was written by someone else, and it's not necessarily. Who was it? Sasha Prince would write songs for people,
Yeah,
right?
he wrote songs for a lot of people. He
And
wrote that song for Cyndi Lauper. He wrote a song for the Bengals. Manic Monday was Prince.
right. And so that happened. So I don't know. Um, I don't really have a strong feeling about it one way or another. Do you, Sasha?
Not
If
really.
other
I
people,
mean, if they're getting paid for it and they're fine to do it. I mean, Prince gave that song to them because he liked the singer
hmm
and he wanted them to do it. So, I mean, I don't know, because there's a lot of good covers too. And some of my favorite bands did covers, like Guns N' Roses did a whole album of covers. The
Yeah, it
Spaghetti
came
and
from an interview. I think I saw where some of these singers get the question, "How did you come up with that brilliant idea for that song you did?" Then I guess they're lying to the camera when they say something because it goes, "You didn't come up with it. Somebody else did. Maybe you collaborated," which I should give credit. If there's a collaboration, that's a little different. But I mean, if it's completely written for you by someone else,
But I mean, a
um,
lot of people did that though. I mean, a lot of people could
yeah,
still write songs, but they get songs. But Whitney Houston, I don't think she wrote any of her songs because I watched that movie about her, and basically, like, this guy would play her songs and she would kind of pick the ones that she wanted to sing. But she had a beautiful voice, and I'm glad that she sang other people's because she couldn't write, but the woman could sing.
and there was
yeah,
the song I Love by Johnny Cash, Sunday Morning Coming Down. That was originally written by Chris Christopherson. And
okay.
he wrote it in 1969 and was record. He didn't even do it originally. He had Ray Stevens did the original version of that song, but Chris Christopherson wrote it. So there's always been a little bit of that where they other people may write the songs and um that yeah.
But do you think it'd be less accepted for like a comedian who doesn't write their own jokes, or you doing your show but you don't even come up with the material? Someone writes it. I don't know if Tim
Yeah,
Pool does it.
there's kind of a line there because I know like all the late night so-called comedians, they have writers
They
that
do.
that write most of their jokes. I mean, they still have to deliver it, and maybe they have input on it. But even Sasha was famous comedians like Eddie Murphy, didn't he have writers too before the
Yeah,
stand-up?
yeah, I was just thinking about him. Damon, or not Damon, Keenan Ivory Wayans, I believe, wrote Raw, or one of the ones he did. Now, he might have had some say in it, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like people write movies and then people act in them. I don't know. I don't really care.
True. Well, I
A
think
lot
when
of
you're
it, with that's the
underground,
delivery.
like a rock band, I would tend to think has to come up with their own until they maybe get big. But like you tend to see like Motley Crue, or if you look, I mean, you just Wikipedia, they'll basically say written by the band. Um, but maybe some collaboration manager. But I think it's more once you get big, it would be a possibility. Because if you're underground, I don't know who has like the money to pay someone to write their own stuff, that kind of thing.
I'm not really sure
But
how that
I always
works.
thought
Yeah, because a lot of bar bands they do a lot of covers, and I
They
guess
do.
I don't know they don't have to pay royalties on that, but it doesn't get anywhere. But
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a good point. I mean, some of
Well,
the
I'll
good.
probably say, how about your job? Would you be disappointed if you found Tim Pool's entire show was written, which maybe it is, I don't know, like by staff and not really his own idea? Of course, I could say it would come across as phony, like if you're not authentic because you're reading some other person's ideas. But I always thought with journalism, to come back to that, I don't really think a lot of them believe much of what they're saying, but they're told what to say.
We get a lot of that even in politics because I remember years ago, and I don't remember, I'm not that old, but the State of the Union address, the first one, George Washington, he didn't deliver it in person. He actually wrote a letter giving the State of the Union, and he did it himself. He wasn't doing that for anyone else, and so. But now modern presidents. Okay, I got Sasha gave me something. Someone's causing issues somewhere, so I'll get rid of them. A lot of presidents, most of their speeches are written by other people, and I don't know if that's a, let me see here.
Well, I guess it could be a little bit like a collab. Say you and me. Say I was a producer of your show, and I ran you some ideas, and you told me what you liked and did it. That's different. I guess I'm thinking
Yeah.
more if it's not organic at all, and I'm totally giving the entire script, and you don't even care. You're just like, I'll just read that.
Yeah,
like,
no, no. If I was big, it definitely helped to have people to put together topics and ideas, but I would just still do it on my own. And I would expect a president should be able to, for example, have his own ideas, and maybe he has a speechwriter to put together because they do teleprompters. Um, Almost all I don't know when that started. That'd be a good AI question, but they have speechwriters, but supposedly they're trying to get their own ideas. That's like people's autobiographies. Most of them are ghost written, but hopefully the people, they get their ideas to the writer.
Yeah, they
I
have
don't
to
know.
tell them the story and then somebody else writes it. So it's still their story. They might just not be good at writing. So I imagine a lot of those people
Yeah.
can't write.
Yeah, like I doubt Melania Trump, got
Oh
in
my
front
God.
of
You
and
can
wrote
see
her.
her
That was
head turn.
that was the worst book.
Yeah.
That was horrible. I don't understand why people like her. Like I really don't. She's not a likable person if you read her book. She's real conceited. She's basically
She
like
basically married for money. Let's
she
face it.
did. She's just I don't know. I wanted to like her. I did. It's like, oh, an attractive first lady that's, not in everybody's business. And so I read that book and it was brutal to get through that thing. It was bad. And like it made me like her even less because she was like talking about, I guess she was supposedly, and I don't even know if she's telling the truth. Because I've heard people say a lot of that shit's lies, that she speaks all these languages and stuff. I don't know if it's true or not, but she said she was going to go to architecture school, but then she got a modeling job instead. And she said, well, I know I would be good at whatever I did. It reminded me of the Brady Bunch with Marcia. Gee, there's just so many things I'm good at. I wouldn't know where to start. And Jan's like, I'm so perfect at so many things. And I was thinking she's got like the Marcia Brady complex, but she's not as pretty or likable.
Well, on the last thing I was going to bring up Trump on the speech. I will say Trump always seems off the cuff, but you always do feel like he's also a little controlled by his advisors, maybe because even this Musk thing with H-1B, I tend to it's Trump's always hard to know what he thinks because he very much like, don't you think, like he'll say one thing and then he'll change the next, and it's I don't know if he really believes in the H-1B visa or he just is so tied to what Musk is saying that he'll just say it. But at this point, he definitely seems like he's a little bit diminished mentally. And
Yeah, I was just talking to Sasha about that, and I've talked about how he is old. How old is he, Sasha? 78 or
78, I think.
yeah.
He's 2 years younger than my dad, and my dad would have turned 80 in November.
That's just ridiculous. Even 68 is old, but to be 78 is like,
Hey now,
Yeah,
Paul's
once
in
you
his
push
60s.
once you push 80, that's just they usually have problems.
well, for
People do.
president, which is a very stressful
Right.
job. And, I
Right.
would think, honestly, ideally, if Trump would not last that long and just give it to Vance, it would be, I would think, better. I don't know if everyone disagrees. Not perfect because you'll get your head bitten off. I know Vance has problems, but he's a younger version of Trump with a clearer head. That's a better version.
Yeah, I like Vance. I do think he's pretty good.
And do you think actually Gavin Newsom, this relates to the fire discussion before, will this hurt, or I don't think it'll even matter by 2028, but I keep thinking the Democrats would love to run him, but clearly he's a little too far left. But Gavin Newsom's the only guy I can think of as like a front runner for 2028. What do you think? Do you think they'll try to push him, even though he is a white male? But
I don't think after this mess, that's what they were saying on Megyn Kelly's show. She was saying his political career is probably about over after this mismanagement of these fires. People are pissed. I saw some guy go up to him. I didn't see the whole video. It was on X. And this lady was not happy about all this stuff going on. So I don't know. I don't think a lot of people like him, really.
He kind of reminds me of America's Trudeau. He kind of has that vibe.
But
being
not
real
as
fake.
attractive. I don't think he is attractive. I know
but
that guy.
Trudeau's hate.
Women
Yeah,
like
Trudeau-
him, but I don't.
Trudeau's hated now in Canada, and I think being associated with California and the dysfunction of California, I think your K-Max, you're right. I think it's going to hurt Gavin Newsom. I would throw out right now is I think Kamala's a joke. I can't believe people are talking that.
Well, she's talking about running again.
Yeah, I know she's deluded. I would say the front runner, if I had to pick right now, is way too early. We have 4 years, but it'd be Josh Shapiro.
And maybe a moderate. Is he actually a moderate? Democrats don't tend to have a lot of those, but would they learn their lesson? Maybe that we got a moderate,
Well, at least if you pretend to be a moderate, like Biden
Right.
pretended to be a moderate.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying he is, but I think it'd be hard for Gavin to run as a moderate based on what's happened in California.
Well, and he wouldn't even address any of the questions really. He just kind of like, oh, the local people are going to deal with it. And it's like, dude, you're the governor.
Right.
You know, like you need to deal with this shit.
I know. But anyway, I'll let you guys
All
get
right.
back.
Thank you. I
Have a good one.
appreciate you calling in.
Good
Yeah.
to see you, K-Max.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and put the link again in the in case someone else wants to call in. I appreciate that. It's kind of fun. And
Come on, guys, call in, spice it up a little bit.
hang on here. Let me just try to see here.
I keep thinking it's super late. I'm like, oh God, it's really late. And then I look and I'm like, oh, because I went to work early today, so I'm kind of like thrown off.
Yeah, so yeah, I posted a link in if someone else wants to call in here. The other thing, since we're talking Trump, we want to talk a little bit about about the whole Greenland and Panama and Canada and the Gulf of America. It seems like we discussed. Did we discuss this before?
We discussed it on the roundtable.
Okay, we haven't done this publicly.
We haven't done night owls. When was the last time we did night owls?
It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. And guys, if you have questions and you want to help support us, I appreciate it. There's power chats, super chats, rants, and we'll definitely get those. Yeah, it has been a while. So we kind of do these ad hoc. But Sasha and I have talked a lot about this too. I wrote a little bit about this, and I'll go ahead and throw my my take out there. Then I'll turn it over to Sasha and we can discuss this. When I first heard Trump talk about Greenland, I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? This is so bizarre. There's his first presidency, he brought that up. And I thought, well, that's just Trump saying crazy shit, because he does that sometimes. He just throws out ideas. But now he's talking that it's really serious. And I started to look into the matter. And the Greenland part isn't necessarily that crazy, because I was really shocked how few people live in Greenland. It's a large area. It's larger than Alaska. And there's about 56,000 people in Greenland. And to put that in comparison, the nearest city I live near where Sasha's right now is Fayetteville, Arkansas. And Fayetteville's about 100,000. It's a little less than 100,000.
I guess like 94,000.
So it's almost half the size of Fayetteville in the whole country. And this country is the size bigger than Alaska. Of course, most of Greenland is not inhabitable. They just have big ice over most of it. But it does have a lot of oil reserves, rare minerals, and it's sort of a strategic position to get access to the Arctic Ocean. So some people think it's Trump wanting to have it for the military to prevent Chinese and Russian influence. Obviously, Russia has access to the Arctic more than anyone else because their country borders it than Canada. We have some with Alaska, but Greenland would have like both ends to the Northwest Passage. And so some people think that might be some of his reason. And it wouldn't be, if the people there are for it, you could pay them all off and they'd probably agree to it. There's only 56,000. I don't really see anything horrible about it. Even if they were Americans, it's not like they could demographically change us. There's only 56,000 of them. And they may, I don't know if they have a Democrat or Republican senator, that could be an issue, but in the electoral vote, they have fewer people than Wyoming, so they'd have like only one vote. It'd be irrelevant in elections. So I think Greenland would be a net positive. Now, Canada, he wants to just kind of merge, and because I thought he was just trolling Trudeau, but Trump seems somewhat serious about it. That would be a huge mistake, huge mistake. Again, 40% of Canadians are now foreign born, and that means most of them are Indians. We do not want them in our country. Canadian people themselves are good people, but they're a separate people. They've had a separate culture. They don't have the same traditions of free speech like we do. And they're more of a socialized country up there. And I don't think they would really fit in well. And if there's 41 million Canadians, that's bigger than the state of California. So if Canada came in, it would be there'd be majority Democrats, have a couple Democrat senators if you made the whole country a state, and that would have a huge amount of electoral votes. Republicans would never win again. So Canada, that should be dead on. I don't want that. That's just stupid. That's globalism. I don't want Canada because they're a separate nation. Now people could ask, well, what about Greenland? Well, Greenland, there's so few people there. It's not the same category. It's almost uninhabited. Panama, it's a little bit trickier. Jimmy Carter, who just passed away, he sold it back to Panama for $1. If you know the history, the Panama Canal was an engineering marvel. I doubt we could do it anymore. We don't have the competence anymore, but we had the competent white men back then that actually engineered and built that. And people thought it couldn't be done, but we did it. And we ran it. It was our property. And a lot of people in Central America and Panama ended up resenting that. They're like, hey, this is the middle of our country. This should be for us. And Jimmy Carter's like, well, you're right. It should be yours because it's in your country. So we'll give it to you for $1. And now Trump wants it back for strategic reasons. I think he's worried that the Chinese may try to take over. And also it's very expensive, because Panama, to try to screw people, raise the rates to get the shipping through. Because if you don't go through the Panama Canal, you got to go around South America, and that's a longer trip, so it makes it more expensive. I think that's why he wants that. And the other thing he said was changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. I don't really care. This is a little bit silly. I mean, are you going to change the state of New Mexico to New America? I don't know. It's just kind of irrelevant. So that's kind of and overall though, and I think this is another criticism, and I think this is valid. When we had the campaign, this wasn't ever one of the campaign issues. And the people, we were talking about inflation, we were talking about ending the war in Ukraine, we were talking about stopping immigration and deporting people. And I'm not sure if I like this change of focus. It's out of left field. So what's your thoughts on it, Sasha?
How I feel about it, I think it's all stupid, and he needs to focus on the deportations. We have all this debt. California's burning down. North Carolina's never recovered. We have all this inner city turmoil. I mean, America's not in a good way. Parts of it are fine. This part is fine, but I think we need to fix the things he said. And our healthcare, nobody talks about. That's not getting better. It seems to be getting worse. I prefer those things than, hey, let's get a whole nother country, or let's take Greenland. What if Greenland doesn't want to be taken? I saw that they have free healthcare there. They probably got a pretty good gig. I wouldn't want to be part of America if it was me. It's kind of like Hawaii. I don't know. They don't really seem like they're that down. Or they didn't really, like our friend that lives in Hawaii kind of talks about that. And I don't know. It seems like just one more problem. Maybe it would be nice for the natural resources. But other than that, I mean, we don't have money for that. And it's not for sale. I don't know. I think you should just focus on what you promised. And I'm starting to wonder if they're just going to backpedal on that shit. Because before, we're going to deport all these people. Now it's, criminals. No, there's a lot of people. They're all criminals, first of all. But it's no, you need to deport everybody.
Yeah.
That's here illegally, I think.
I'm very skeptical that.
And this H-1B stuff is really, that's when I was just okay, I think we got lied to again. When they start talking about that, because Trump was so against that in 2016, and then Elon's for it, so now he's for it. And it's I guess because Elon gave him a bunch of money and helped him with the campaign, but the American people put you in there too. And it's you shouldn't forget your promises, and we don't want H-1B visas because it does replace American workers. And how, when Bernie Sanders is on the right side of this, it's bad. Because even he was talking about how Tesla laid a bunch of people off. I retweeted it. You can find the tweet on.
Yeah, I retweeted him too, and I also Nikki Haley came out against.
Yeah, that too. Well, so did DeSantis. So you have all these other people coming out against it, and then Trump was supposed to be Mr. America First. Well, what the hell? These neocon types are sounding better than Trump. It's come on, get your shit together. You're going to tank it in 2028 if you don't do what you say. It's going to be. People are tired of this because I've seen a lot of people that are pissed, that are MAGA people. Now you have the sycophants that love Trump no matter what he does. I'm not one of those people. I like Trump. I think he's funny. I thought he was brave when he got shot and how he stood up and everything. And that was really badass and cool. But at the same time, if he doesn't do what he says, like, I'm not on board with this shit. Like, I don't know. That's my thoughts. Before we go trying to purchase other countries and get involved with all this stuff, maybe we should fix our problems here. That's what I think.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not either or. I mean, you could do both.
Well, they're not going to do both. Like, come on. Like, he's got 4 years. How much shit got done the first time?
I would say conceivably buying Greenland, if it's reasonably priced, won't necessarily interfere with his deportation plans. I don't think the two are necessarily related, unless you do have a point. You only have so much political capital to go around, and you don't want to spend your political capital on silly things. The other argument for buying territory, that's pretty much how America came about. I mean, the Louisiana Purchase from France was a huge purchase. We bought Alaska from Russia. So there is in the history of America that has occurred. Right,
but were we like 20 trillion in debt back then? And we were in we could expand that, and I'm not saying we couldn't expand now, but I just think that these things are more important. And he only has 4 years to get stuff done, and you see how slow it is getting anything done. I mean, when you think of 2020, like, what did he really get done? And I know he had the lawsuits, and he had a lot of bullshit, and COVID came, but I'm drawing a blank. And I mean, like, as he got the taxes down, like, we were doing better economically till COVID, so that was good. But all this other stuff, it's kind of like, it seems like a distraction to me. And I wonder if we're veering off into, I'm going to deal with this, and then I'm not going to do the deportations. And I don't know. I don't trust politicians.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And like I said, how about the Panama thing? I didn't give my opinion on that. And I don't, it's not a good look to try to force someone to sell it back, and they don't want to sell it back. It's just pretty much you're a great power trying to take over land. I mean, it's not different than Russia and Ukraine, then, right? I don't know. I just have a problem with that too. And the Gulf of Mexico thing is just kind of silly. I don't care one.
It is silly. Yeah. Gulf of Mexico just has a better ring to it than Gulf of America. Like, is that what or does he want to change it to the Gulf of the USA or
Gulf of America?
Yeah, I don't know. Gulf of Mexico. We're just used to it.
Yeah,
I don't like change like that. I'm just used to just keep things. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to do that.
Yeah, I agree with you that. So that was it. So, yeah, those were like all the political topics I had. Do you want to go a session longer? Or?
I mean, we can go longer if you want. I don't have to work tomorrow, so it's up to you if you're tired or whatever.
Yes, it's been a little slow, but I guess we could go on if you want.
I mean, I don't care. I'm kind of enjoying going on, but we can stop if you're tired or you don't want to do it anymore. That's fine. It's up to you. We could change gears and talk about something else and then end if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's change gears and go to because
you said you had a list of stuff, right?
Yeah, and one I don't have, but you could probably do off the top of your head. We were offline. We were talking about your top movies of 2024. Do you want to kind of go over those?
Sure. I was going to make a video if you help me, and I was going to do like a top 10.
You could do maybe a preview here, though. So what was your best movies of last year?
Let me bring up AMC, because I got to remember what the hell I saw last year. Yeah, if I do this, though, I'm giving the whole video away, but I guess I can. I don't know how many people would watch it anyway, so I thought it would just be kind of fun. Let's see. Tickets. History. God, how many movies did I see? A lot. The movies I didn't like. I did not like Nosferatu. It was funny, this guy showed up in my stream or my feed on YouTube, and it was like the top 10 movies. That's where I got the idea. I thought, I want to make my own list. And some of the movies I didn't see. I never saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and that was on his list and everything. And Inside Out 2 was on his list. I did see that. It would not make my list. I didn't think it was that great. It was kind of like the first one, but they added anxiety. It didn't seem like it was anything new or memorable.
I never cared for that. No, the first one I didn't care for.
Oh, I love the first one. This
Yeah,
one, the second one. Well, you don't like cartoons. Like if I showed you Wall-E, you wouldn't like it, and everybody loves Wall-E. But he had that on his list. But he put The Substance as number 2, which would be my number 1. And then I was like, oh, wonder what number 1's going to be. And it was freaking Nosferatu. So I didn't like that. And
no,
I didn't like
Nosferatu, if I could chime in. I saw that, and I wanted to like it so bad, but it just seemed too slow for me.
Yeah, it was boring. I was nodding off.
Well, you fell asleep. I remember because I saw you. You actually fell asleep.
Yeah, that's not good if I'm like passing out. But that I didn't like Civil War. Some guy that used to call you Roundtable, he told us that was like the greatest movie ever, and I was kind of excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then we saw it, and I was like, that's kind of boring. I don't know.
Yeah, they had like one good scene I liked in it.
Yeah, the part where he said, "Are you an American?"
Yeah, that was a good scene.
That was the best scene in the whole movie.
That was it. The rest of the movie kind of sucked.
And I do like Kirsten Dunst, and I like the other girl that's in it because she played Priscilla. But it just wasn't. It could have been, if you're gonna do a movie like that, do a good movie. This wasn't a good movie.
My most hated movie though was Baby Girl. We saw.
Yes, that sucked. So those were
horrible.
those were the only 3 movies last year I did not like. And then I still haven't seen Moana 2. Let's see, if I had to do, I'm looking through the list now. Of course, I think The Substance would be number 1. Number 2 would probably be Flow.
I didn't see that.
It's a cartoon, and it's about a kitty. It won the Golden Globe. I thought it was really good. Brandon liked it too. It had no talking in it. Like, it was a bunch of animals, and there's a flood. Then this kitty loses his home, and he kind of ends up with these other animals on this boat. And it was kind of relaxing in a way because you could hear the ocean or hear the water, while they're on the boat. And it was just, the music and everything was really pretty, but there's no speaking. The cat would meow, the dogs would bark because there's dogs in it too. Button couldn't watch that movie. I'd like to watch it again, and I'm like, if we watch it, Button will have to go in another room because it would trigger her. But I think it was a Latvia movie. It was made by some guy from Latvia, but it was beautiful and it was good. I really like that. I probably surprised. I would put Wicked up there. I thought Wicked was good. It was surprisingly good because I thought this is going to be shit. And me and Mosca went to see it together because he kind of felt like I did. Like, he's like, oh, this isn't going to be good. And when it was over, he was like, awesome. We both really liked it. So I'll put that on the list. And what else? The Planet of the Apes. I like that. I don't know why I always forget about that one because it's been a while since we saw it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I would put that up there. I enjoyed that a lot. I thought it was good. Brandon said the chimps freaked him out. Like, he said, he doesn't like them. They scare him, but I enjoyed that. What else? Late Night with the Devil. I would probably put
that
on
was
there.
that was
That's
my
been
favorite
a while
of the year.
too.
That was my favorite movie of the year.
Really, you like that more than The Substance?
Yes, I really did like it.
Yeah, I liked it too.
It was funny
Not
because
as
the
much
name
as
of
The
the show, the fictional show, was called Night Owls too.
Yeah, it was funny. I like the decor. I wish we could have that guy's decor
Yeah,
with the
that was
owls
kinda
and
cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
And when they'd go on commercial break, they had the owl.
Yeah.
I also liked Strange Darlings. I thought that was good.
Yeah,
It's
that
funny
was
with
good.
my list, you see it's like horror movies and cartoons mostly, except for like Wicked and I also liked Reagan. I thought Reagan was really good.
That's my second favorite film of the year. Reagan was a really good movie.
Whether you like him or not, it was a good movie.
Yes,
it just was. And it's too bad that didn't get more. I don't know. I felt like that should have got nominated for some awards, but it's not going to because they don't like Dennis Quaid. Because I thought he was good. He was in The Substance also as the asshole guy that hired her to be an aerobics member. He was in that. And he was good as the jerk in that too, but he didn't get any nominations for anything. I think his politics are wrong, so he's not going to win any awards. But Reagan was good. And I thought Mufasa was cute, but I'm trying to think. Twisters was like a kind of a popcorn movie. It was cute. It was kind of like a Hallmark movie with tornadoes. Oh, and I liked Abigail, the movie about the girl that turns into a vampire.
That was fun. Yeah.
So I didn't think Beetlejuice was that great.
I like Beetlejuice. That was probably my third favorite movie.
You're such a weirdo. You have to be the only person that likes the sequel to the original Beetlejuice.
I know. I did like the sequel better. I
don't know why.
The person, but I did
really,
like it.
I don't know why. I really don't know why. It was so forgettable. It was one of those movies I still kind of forget we've even seen it. And then I go through my list. Terrifier 3 stuck with me.
Yeah, that was the goriest movie I've ever seen. Yeah.
They're going to be at the Texas Frightmare this year, all the cast of Terrifier. So, but it'd be kind of cool to meet them, but it's probably going to be crazy long lines and expensive. Right. So I probably won't, because those things have gotten so expensive. Right. When I first started going to conventions, they were fairly cheap, and now everybody goes to them and they're so expensive. But yeah, those would probably be my favorites. I don't know. I have to write down a list. I saw a lot of Miyazaki movies, but those are old, so they can't go on the list.
Yeah, we saw some older movies and like Back to the Future and stuff like that too.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I didn't see Longlegs. Somebody mentioned that. I haven't seen that. I never saw the Garfield movie. I'd like to see that. And I heard it wasn't very good, though. And I never saw Deadpool and Wolverine, which I have zero interest in seeing. Yeah, I can tell Paul's getting tired.
I know, I'm already yawning, so we probably should wrap this up.
Yeah, we'll wrap up then.
Yeah, guys, so thank you for joining us. This was kind of a spur of the moment, but we always love doing Night Owls. So thank you, Sasha, for suggesting this.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun because this weekend I want to work on moving.
Yeah, hopefully I have the car.
Because the weather should get better. Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.